from Houston, Texas. Every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time, we do live presentation, take question and answers. Today, what do you have today?
So we have, been looking at the numbers. We've been talking about this long wait for green cards for particularly EB2 India, and looking at new data. We're expecting, if we continue on the same path we're on, up to 400,000 people may age out, meaning that they die before they actually can receive a green card in the EB2 category based on the data that we have now. So we wanted to talk about that and what we can do. And also, what is the estimate for how many EB2 green cards will actually be available to India this year? What has it been like in the past several years prior to COVID? The Laredo border port of entry, people have been having problems there with trying to extend their I-94 to utilize the 540-day automatic extension. So we'll talk about that. And then we're seeing more and more issues with people not getting a stamp in their passport when they're at CBP entering the U.S. And is that a problem that you need to worry about? So where is this 400,000 number coming from?
Emily, this is from the Cato Institute, which we both and all the immigration lawyers respect. This is regarding, they issued data in March 8th of 2022, Emily. Based on that data, though, approximately 200,000 Indians will die while they're waiting for the green card, though, before the green card will be issued. This is not the people that they're speaking about, the people who are going to apply for the green card later on. This is the people who have already applied and got the priority date. That's the data, what they said, and I have provided the link at the bottom of the website. It's a very good research paper, guys, that if you want to take a look into the data of those things. Now, what is surprising in this March of 2022, which is just about 6 months ago or 7 months ago, as compared to right now, is there's a lot of change in the data there. And I think so, Cato Institute is wrong by a huge margin, When they're speaking about 213,000 people who are in the pipeline, that means who already applied for the green card, they're going to die. I think so they're wrong by almost like 50%. It should actually be 400,000 people who die the green card. Now, I'm not telling that such a great institute is wrong, but this is based on the data that they have it in March of 2022. Now, we got a recent data, Emily. According to the data, the USCIS has said that the rest of the world is going to be backlogged. And today, they have declared to the court, USCIS has declared to the court that for the year of 2023 fiscal year, starting from October 1st of 2022, Emily, only 4,004 green cards will be given to the Indian nationals. Unless there is some miracle that happens, only 4,004. And they're telling approximately around 40,000 applications are pending for the employment-based, for the second-based category for the Indian nationals only, though.
So you're saying this entire year, USCIS is saying they're only going to be able to give 4,004 to specifically to EB2 India.
Indian nationals.
And there's 40,000 already pending.
And then you know that some of the people who did not file before may add up a little bit more, not maybe 300-400 people whose labor certification has not been approved, may add up a little bit more, but may not be much. So just to clear the backlog of the existing people, it's going to take 10 years.
That's just for the people who already have a pending 485, not the backlog of everybody who's got
not the backlog of the people who have not filed the 485 application. The people who have not filed the 485 application, who have already had the priority date established, though, that's going to be, according to the Cato Institute, in March of 2022, they said it will take 90 years to clear that data. And they said, according to them, I don't know how they estimated, that 213,000 people are going to die, 81,000 people are going to age out, and 363,000 people are going to actually get the green card. So that data was a little bit not updated. It was March of 2022. They said that approximately 8,000 people will get the green card in EB2 every year. Okay. So that is where the problem comes in, is that 8,000 people are not going to get the green card according to data. This year it's only going to be 4,000 people who are going to get the green card. Now, what changed a little bit, Emily, is that the rest of the world are using more green cards. And that's the reason why Indians are going to only get a 4,000. They have already estimated the rest of the world is demand high based on the I-140s filed, based on how their analysis is. And we have extra 60,000 green cards, Emily. Because of that extra 60,000 green cards, we're getting 4,000 green cards for the Indian nationals. If that extra 60,000 would not have been there, Indians would have only got 2,800 green cards, not 4,000 green cards. These 4,000 green cards are not going to be there next year unless the pandemic continues. It's going to be only 2,800 EB2 green cards, though. And in that 2,800 green cards, Emily, when you look into the data, though, 50% are given to the family members. Only 50% will go to the main applicants. So that cut down to only approximately 1,400 families every year will get the green card from India, from the EB2. Now, when you look into, Emily, the H-1B, there is no quota for it. L1, there is no quota for it. What happened is that in there, especially for H-1B, 60% of the H-1B in the master's quota, in the regular bachelor's quota, or even in where the university is hiring, they don't come under any quota though. So approximately around 100,000 H-1Bs are given every year. So you have approximately 50 to 60% to 55 to 65%. So approximately about 60% Indians are getting the green card. So are getting the H-1B. So when it comes to the green card though, there is a limit of 7%, which is only 1,400 families are getting every year the green card. That's where the whole bottleneck is. And that's where the problem is. And it's very surprising that we don't have any solution right now. The Congress does not have a solution. We do sometimes have Bill Gates coming in, Mark Zuckerberg coming in and trying to argue for this behalf. And also sometimes Tim Cook, the CEO of the Apple company, they keep on arguing it. They try to do efforts. What I feel is that our guys, Indian guys, they're lazy. They don't want to contact the Congress. We do have a vice president from Indian background. We do have a lot of congressmen. We do have a lot of influential people in the government. But once they reach that stage, they forget who they are, where they come from, where their families come from. We are not asking, the Indians should not be asking for, hey, give us extra preference. All we should be asking is, just treat me like a Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they don't ask. We have provided the sample letters. We don't see these people writing letters. When I go to these Indian functions, which I seldom go, but when I go there, these are all partying and these all big associations are speaking, but they don't touch immigration as a topic. Those people who got the green card, who are like 40 years or 50 years of age, they don't speak about green card. They don't understand the problems, what's going on. And if this is not going to be resolved, there is nothing called green cards for the Indian nationals. It's not there. It's not going to be there. We recommend all the people to write the green card letters to the senators, congressmen, administration, ombudsman. We have given a draft of it. A link is provided for you. Please write letters. Anything else, Emily? On these research papers, though.
Yeah, and the Cato Institute has provided 2 papers on this topic within the last few years. And what I find interesting, so the first time they put this out, they gave us some numbers back in 2020, March 2020, so right before COVID. At that time, they estimated that the number of people in the backlog for EB2 India was 706,000 people. So that's how many people we have to get through that are already in line when we're giving out 4,000 green cards a year, possibly down to even 2,800.
But Emily, after the pandemic, a lot of people got the green cards. Indian national got the green card though.
So then, you would think that 706,000 number would have gone down, at least some, over the next 2 years, as a lot of people did receive the green card in EB2. Of course, some of this data is a little bit older. This is from March 2022. So 2 years later, okay, remember in 2020, the number of people in the backlog for EB2 India, 706,000. 2 years later, it went up to 720,000, even though we were giving out all those green cards in the October 2020 and beyond, based on the spillover and all the extra family-based cases we had. The backlog grew, and now we're back to where we were pre-COVID in terms of the number of green cards that are going to be issued. And based on that 700,000 number, they were estimating that about 8,000 people would get the green card every year. But now, looking at where we're at, it's only 4,000 people that are going to get the green card every year. So it's going to take twice as long to what they even estimated. So the only thing that can fix this is we need the law to be changed. Besides that, we've been talking about not counting the family members. That will help some, but when you have 700,000 people and they're only able to give out 4,000 green cards a year, it's just, you can't even think of ever getting the green card.
This is for the people who have already applied for the green card. I mean, why is that last year, when we had 280,000 green cards available, we got 60,000 green cards in EB2, while we have 200,000 green cards though? Why only Indians will get only 4,004, 60,000 last year to 4,004? Why is that so much change in it?
Yeah, there are two main reasons. So if you remember, the green cards that go unused in EB1 fall down to EB2. So when EB1 got all the extra green cards over those 2 years, they didn't need them all, they didn't use them all, so they fell down to EB2. Now, because of these EB2 dates not moving, more and more people are utilizing EB1, so there's going to be fewer extra EB1 that will fall down to EB2. And on top of it, as you mentioned earlier, there are more and more applicants in the rest of world category. We already know Department of State is expecting they're going to have to put a cutoff date in the visa bulletin for EB2 rest of world, which rarely happens. That means they're going to use up all of their allotment of green cards. And whenever that happens, that means the 7% cap is there and they cannot go over that 7%. So that's why we're looking at 200,000 green cards. 28.6% goes to EB2, and of that, only 7% can go to EB2 India, which is exactly 4,004 green cards.
Unless there is some miracle happens, what do you expect the priority dates movement, Emily? Because now they disclose that only 4,004 people are going to get the green cards in EB2. Where do you expect the EB2 priority dates move to?
Well, we're at 2012 now. It should take 10 years to get to December 2014 to clear the 40,000 that are there already.
And plus some additional things that will be added in there. So what is there a chance it may actually go back to March of 2012 right now?
That's always a possibility because we don't know how many people are jumping in and out. We've got people that are in EB3 that may still jump up into EB2 and that have earlier priority dates than the people who are currently pending. So that's always a possibility.
And I have to admit that there are a lot of estimates that we have done before that have gone completely wrong. And one of the main reason is that one, they wasted 60,000 green cards in 2021 fiscal year. That's one of the reason. The second reason why we went very wrong was that the rest of the world, we were shocked. Normally, though, the demand for the rest of the world, that means the people who are not from India and China, we call them as rest of the world, the demand for EB employment based was very less. All of a sudden, the demand for the rest of the world has gone up. The way it works is that 7% is guaranteed for Indians, 7% is guaranteed for Chinese, but anything that is not used by the other people will come mostly to the Indian nationals though. And that's where the problem came in, is that when the rest of the world is using up the entire things, India is only restricted to the 7%. So unless there is some change in the legislation, unless there is a change in some administrative interpretation, we are already in trouble. Unless there is something changes, we are in trouble. Green cards are not going to come. The people who file the 485 will have to stay for a long period of time. The people who are waiting to file a 485 may not be able to file. And the people who have filed for the I-140, whose priority date is anywhere between January 1st of 2015 and forward onwards though, most of them may not survive at all to get the green card though. That's the truth, guys, and we just want to, and we have given the data that you can go and look into those things to get to the reality of it, though.
And just, I think somebody was asking kind of what EB3 looks like. The number of green cards that would be available in EB3 would be the same, the 4,004 for this whole year. Whereas last year, EB3 was given 12,000. So we're cutting that down to a third of what they got last year. And EB3 still has about 25,000 applications pending that could not be adjudicated in the last fiscal year. So if we're looking at 4,000 green cards per year and we've got 24,000 pending, that's going to be at least 6 years just to get EB3 back to where it was as well.
And a lot of people will ask which one will go forward, EB2 or EB3, since most of the people who are in EB2 are eligible for EB3 also. It'll be very tough to guess it. I always compare EB2 and EB3 as the highway in Los Angeles. I hate it because whichever lane I go just stops there. And when I move to the next lane, then the lane that I moves there. And that's what happened with the EB2 and EB3. And that's what is going to expect it to happen with EB2 and EB3, because most of the people who are eligible in EB2 are also eligible in EB3. Anything else, Emily, before we go to the next topic?
I think we can go on the next topic. So what's going on in Laredo?
Here is the issue, Emily. We have released a video, we invented this thing called we're getting the extension of the I-95 while going to Mexico. But some Telegram groups and other groups are formed without our advice, without us including in it. And they started advising people, go to Laredo and turn back and come back. And there's a lot of failures. And the reason why these people are going to Mexico is, especially for the H4 EAD extension, which you probably already know, you file H1B, H4, and EAD extension at the same time. When you do that, you get the H1B in premium processing, which you already know, and your H4 and EAD does not get approved. So when the H4 is expiring, let's say in December of 2022, and the H1 extension is already extended all the way to December of 2025, people can fly into Mexico and and come back into United States, and the H4 person will be given, when requested, when they show their spouse's H1B approval, they will get an extension up to the time where the spouse H1B is expiring, which will be December of 2022, December of 2025, sorry. The reason why people do that is because of the EAD extension, that if an I-94 is extended for H4 and EAD extension is still pending, they can work up to a period of 540 days. Now for that, the trip to Mexico has to be a meaningful entry. And that's where the problem comes in. A meaningful entry means if you want to go to Mexico and have a margarita and you want to come back, that is meaningful. Now, it may not sound meaningful, but it is technically, I want to taste margarita in Mexico. That is meaningful though. Now, when people are going to the land border to Laredo, driving or probably walking to Mexico and coming back, the CBP, the Customs and Border Protection, is telling that's not a meaningful entry. You just went there only to extend the I-94, not to drink margarita. So I'm not going to give you that. You come back on the I-94. You still can stay into the United States until December of 2022. That's what is happening with Laredo. These groups are formed. We see a lot of failure in there. What we suggest is not to go through the land border, to fly in. And people ask me, which city to go to? Well, you can go to Mexico City. You can go to Cancun. Cancun probably might be a good place. I've been to Cancun. And there's also Chichen Itza. If you want to go from there, it's a nice place to go. And there's all-inclusive resorts there. And you stay there for a night and come back, or a couple of nights and come back. That will be more ideal for you to do it. Now, I know some of the problems that getting visa is one of the problem, Emily, is that if these people don't have the visa already stamped until December of 2022, they need a stamping of the Mexico. If they don't have an advance parole approved with them, they need a visa of Mexico. And that takes an extra step though, especially if you live in Atlanta or any of the major cities like Houston. It may take only 1 week for you to get the passport stamp, visa stamping for Mexico. But if you live in a very remote place where the Mexico consulate is not there, it may take a long time for you to get the visa. And maybe you should drive to Atlanta or to Houston, Dallas, where the consulates are there. And Houston, I think so we have 3 or 4 US Mexican consulates, not just one, couple of them actually, in Mexican consulate in Houston. So you can get them here. We suggest that you do not drive to Laredo. Don't disappoint yourself. Get a visa, flight to Mexico. You don't need a visa to come back if you go to Mexico, guys. If you're just traveling and not applying for a US visa, all you need is you go there and you come back. It's called automatic revalidation. We have put a video on that in 540 days. But don't go to Laredo. Anything else, Samya?
I think that covers that. And then last, we wanted to talk about the situation that's coming up when people are returning into the U.S. and they're providing their passport at CBP. They're not getting anything stamped in their passport anymore. What's going on with that?
Yeah, a lot of people are really panicked, Emily. People coming on B2 visa, people coming on H1, H4, they're just passing them through. They're not even looking anything in there. And they're not even taking the passport into their hand. This is pass, okay, go on. And their I-90, but the good part is the I-94 is coming in the CBP site. So people are panicked. I don't have an entry. Did I illegally enter into the United States? No, you did not. You came legally. You came through a flight. And your I-94 is appearing on the CBP website. You are good. No problem. Absolutely no problem. As long as you are appearing in the CBP website I-94, where I don't have to tell you where to look into, and if you go and look into yourself and it says that your date of entry is whatever the date and the I-94 is existing, you are good. Just because the passport stamp, they didn't stamp that, you are allowed to stay until this point of time. It's not going to cause any problem whatsoever at all. In fact, Emily, when I went to Mexico City recently, I did not even open my passport. I walked in. Of course, I'm a US citizen, guys. So when I walked into, the guy said, come here, okay, look at the camera, and then Mr. Rahul Reddy, welcome, thank you, bye. I thought, I did not tell the officer, like, what the heck, you're not even looking into my passport? And of course, in a casual conversation in one of the time with the CBP, they are telling that passports are redundant right now. What do you mean? We don't need passports anymore. Oh, so what does that mean? They have eye reading when we book the tickets, when we get into the flights, they have the things, they have everything ready. When I walked into that one, that guy already, he got my biometric, my eye recognition. He already know I'm Rahul Reddy. He already has my passport number, everything there. He just passes out to me. That's how the technology is right now. Not to worry about it if the passport is not, the little stamp that you get on the passport is not there. As long as you appear on the CBP website, I-94, you are good.
All right, it's time to take some questions. Madhu says, I have an EB2 with India listed as my citizenship. What happens to my green card petition if my citizenship then changes to Canada? Nothing happens to that petition because the employment-based categories are based on your country of birth. It doesn't change anything in terms of the wait time. Just whenever you make your next filing with USCIS, you would provide your new passport and your new citizenship, but nothing needs to be done with regards to the approved I-140.
Usha, is there no chance for the April 2015 EB2 next 2 years? Now, if we go by the numbers, unless there is some miracle happens, absolutely no chance. If we go by the numbers what they're providing. Now, having said, Usha, that I've been proven wrong in who expected pandemic to come in, who expected the priority date to move to January of 2015. So there can be some miracles that happen. One thing, what I request you, Usha, is that there is a letter that we want you to write, that they should not count the family members though. If they stop counting the family members, the green card applications will go up from 140,000 to approximately 300,000 because they're counting the family members. The Congress never said to count the family members. The administrators started counting the family members though. So if by any chance they do that, you have a great chance for the priority date to become current. If they don't do it, they go with the data what they have provided to us right now. They keep on granting green cards of 4,000 this year, 4,004 this year. Lucky 4 guys, I should leave them. Plus 2,800 every year. That's going to take a decade for you prior to you to become current. And really, it is, when I say decade, it is 10 years.
Sriram says, what's the current backlog as of October 2022? So if you're talking about the inventory of 485 applications that are already filed and pending, for EB2, that is 41,000. And for EB3, that was around 24,000 already pending applications. Now, beyond that, how many approved I-140 petitions are there where they have not yet filed the 485? That would appear to be around 700,000 as of March 2022. We don't have updated data beyond that.
The question, I'm on H-1B, priority date is 2018. Can I be in the board of directors for the home association? Absolutely no problem. Now that is a typically, what I know about homeowners association is that it's not paid. It's a voluntary job. You don't expect to get a job there. So that is definitely, yes, you can do that.
Sujana says, my I-140 just got approved. I would like to switch to H-4 EAD from H-1B. And wants to know, can I do that now or should I wait until I complete my 6 months after the I-140 approval to keep the I-140 active? So it really depends on when you make that switch. Are you intending to stay with the current employer or are you planning on quitting your job and leaving? And depending on that would then determine whether that employer is going to withdraw the I-140 that just got approved. So if there's any chance that by you switching from H-1B to H-4 EAD, the employer will withdraw your approved I-140, in that situation you want to wait until the 180-day mark so that the withdrawal happens after 180 days. That means you'll be able to keep using that approved I-140 to get H-1B extensions beyond the 6-year limit. If you decide to switch back to H-1B, your spouse could use it to get an H-4 EAD. But if the I-140 gets withdrawn before 180 days, you won't be able to use it for getting those continued H-1B extensions.
Questions coming with regards to the EB1. How many, this is from Senthil, how many EB1 485s are pending and how many visas are available for the fiscal year 2023? They did not give us the data though. They did provide data for the EB2 and EB3, they're two particularly Indian nationals though, but they did not provide for EB1. There is a chance that they've been saying that the rest of the world will be backlogged, but they only pointed out towards the EB2, and to some extent, even though they didn't point it out to EB3, I'm expecting it may occur for EB3 also. But when it comes to the EB1, it may remain open, at least for this fiscal year, because we have that extra 60,000, which about 28% of them will come to EB1. So there's a good chance that it may be current for this year.
Victor says, I have an EB2 485 pending and wants to know if I leave for a new employer and apply for a new EB1C 485, will the old EB2 485 remain valid since it's already been pending for 6 months? So there's a couple issues there. The pending 485 in EB2 can remain valid with respect to a new employer as long as the new job is similar. Since your 485 has been pending for 180 days. So you can port that pending EB2 485 with you to the new employer. The new employer submits the Supplement J form to confirm that portability. Now, then if you're filing in EB1C, that doesn't automatically make the EB2 go away. You just have to figure out how are you going to get into EB1C. If you didn't previously work for that company outside the US for at least 1 year, then you're going to have to do that in order to qualify. And is that year outside the US going to cause you to abandon your 485 because you don't have an advanced parole? There's a lot of different moving parts to that, but the 485 generally remains pending until it gets adjudicated or it gets withdrawn.
Good question from Sri Ram Kumar. Can you comment more about the removing of the per country quota though? At this point of time, there's elections going on, though. The elections will be over in the November 2nd week. The Congress, that is the parliament here, they call it as Congress here, will be there until January 2nd week. So we have approximately 2 months of time when the new parliament is voted, but the old parliamentarians sit and pass the legislation. It's a very odd, unlike England and India, it works a little bit different here. They have a very rigid thing that the transition of power only happens in the January 2nd week or so. So in that period of time, we call that as a lame duck session. That means that these old congressmen will be out, but they still get to pass the law. We call that. That's when is a good chance for this per country quota to be passed in. So we have to see if there is any movement that will occur in October last week, after November 2nd week to about January. That's when we may expect this legislation to move in the Congress. Until the elections are over, though, they're not going to touch it because it's more sensitive topic. People may not like it. One fear that I have with this per country quota limit, Emily, is that what is happening is that, Emily, it's Indians versus the rest of the world. And because some of the senators are trying to defend the rest of the world, some of the senators are trying to support the Indians. So India versus rest of the world. That's exactly how the battle is happening. And especially if the priority date for the rest of the world is backlogged, Emily, they will be on their toes to fight this one against. So hopefully when the priority date is current for them, they don't realize it. That's when the time Indians can probably get this thing passed in the Congress. But once it's backlogged, they feel the pain and they won't let it go. That's my estimate. And we can't press the law right now because of the elections. We have to wait until November 2nd week. So we're in like limbo. We can't do this. When we go there, we might get a good resistance. But what Sriram, I would suggest is, at this point of time, we will draft a letter for you for the per country quota when the time comes. We don't want you to send right now, because if you send right now, it will go at the bottom. If we send it later on, though, when the time comes in, then it will go to the proper place, though. At this point of time, what we want the administration is, this administration is favorable to us compared to what the previous administration is. I mean, look, the H-1B denials, every time you go to extension, you are going to be getting 1-year extensions. If you get it, so we're getting so many RFs, we get so many denials. Those things have gone down significantly right now, definitely significantly right now. This administration is good. They issued the 280,000 green cards. The rest of the world demand is not in the hands of the administration, though. The dates that we said about it, it's going to take 400,000 Indians are, that is where a little bit change can be done by the administration, though. If they stop counting the family members, that's going to be easy. So at this point of time, we are promoting taking the family members off, which doesn't require anything to be passed by the Congress. So that's the reason we put a letter. Please write the letter. Have every person write the letter. Take the per country. Now, in taking the per country limit, not per country limit off, in taking the family members off, we may get the support of the rest of the world because they are not opposed to it. But when it comes to taking the per country limit out, it's Indians versus the rest of the world. And that's where the problem comes in, because they are fighting against it. But taking the family members off, they will all club up together with us to take the family members off. Maybe, Emily, the rest of the world is going to go back according to the USCIS and the statements they're making. Once the dates for the rest of the world goes back, though, that may be a good time for us to have the rest of the people join us to write this letter. Mm-hmm. Right now, only Indians are writing, and later on, everybody else can write. Now, everybody else, they're not interested. My priority date is current. What should I do for it? So at this point of time, all Indians should write it. We should request other people also to write it, but maybe later on have other people write it too.
ES 350 has a question about the EAD AP card expiration date versus the I-94. So he's got an AP that's valid until 2023 September, but the I-94 that he was issued when he entered on advanced parole expires in December 2023. Does that mean don't travel close to the I-94 expiry? So every time you enter on AP, as long as the AP is valid on the date you're entering, you usually get a 1-year I-94. So if your I-94 is good till December 2023, that would suggest to me that you would have been traveling in December 2022. Usually that's what they do on those I-94s. So that has nothing to do with the actual end date of the AP. The most important thing for that is to make sure that your AP is valid at the time you're trying to enter. But beyond that, there's nothing really related to the I-94.
Okay, 1 second. A lot of people are asking about predicting the priority date. We already discussed about it. What we want you to do is take action, guys. There are. I see some people. Oh, the letters are not going to work. Well, they do work, guys. They may not work every time, but they do work. I mean, they did work for the 280,000 green cards last year. But that was a miracle. I mean, they did it. You guys wrote the letters. Oh my goodness, everybody wrote a letter at that point of time. And yes, the Congress acted, the administration acted, they did it. This one is definitely we're going against the wind, definitely. It's not that easy. There we were pointing out that the USCIS was inefficient. We made so many videos criticizing the administration. You guys wrote the letters to the congressman saying that the USCIS is good for nothing and all those things. They did act it. I mean, we have to say thanks to them. This one is definitely an administrative decision where the administration has to. We have a favorable administration. We don't have the Trump administration. God, no, we don't want it. When it comes, we'll be in hell at that point of time. But at this point of time, we do have a good administration. If we can get these changes done, though, that will be very good. Once this once these elections are over, guys, we may see some drastic changes in the administration. Because what happens is that this administration came in with an expectation to do benefit for the immigrants. They haven't done anything. The 280,000, they are supposed to do it. They did it. What did they do? Did they give any extra green cards? No. Did they change any administration to increase the number of green cards, which they could? They didn't. Did they add any more than other than DACA that the previous Obama administration did? No, they didn't. So this administration has not done any. It is favorable, but it didn't act anything spectacular, though. When the elections are over, we may see a different Biden. We may see a different administration. They may go very aggressive in favor of the immigrants after the elections are over. Hopefully so. So at this point of time, let's only stick with not counting the family members, and we'll keep on disclosing more information to you.
Reddy says, can you please comment on perm processing delays and what can be done, as many people are maxing out because it's taking 2 years to get the prevailing wage and perm process. Yeah, it's definitely a continued problem, and I don't see it getting better in the near future. Here's some of the issues. Whenever we have Perm and we have the H-2A and the H-2B process, the Department of Labor has to give priority to the H-2A and H-2B because those are limited numbers of visas available. They're only available certain times of year. You have to get your labor certification approved in time to be able to file with USCIS before the visas run out. So that means they're taking adjudicators away from the perm and prevailing wage to be able to get through this H-2 visa applications. On top of that, they did ask for about the money in the budget for fiscal year 2023 to be able to hire about 30 more officers to try to get the backlog under control. But that fiscal year 2023 budget would have already started October 1st, and the budget hasn't actually been passed yet. This is the budget for the Department of Labor. So we're already losing time in the fiscal year. And then once they do get this budget, assuming they get enough money for an extra 30 people, it's going to take time to hire those people, to train those people. It's not going to be something that's going to be a quick fix. We are looking into the possibility of litigation under the Administrative Procedures Act on the basis that these delays are unreasonable, especially when it's causing people to max out of their H-1B time. So we'll have updates on that as we are conducting some background research right now.
Question from RV. green card holder doesn't get their I-94 updated on the CBP website, how do I know that I properly entered into the United States? You are good as when you book a ticket. Let's say you're going to India and you're coming back, though. They ask you a passport number. They ask you all the details in there. That's good enough for you. They have a track record of you, who you are, RV, whether you have a green card holder or not. They have all the information there. So when you entered into it, even though they didn't stamp in the passport that you entered USA, they have a record that you entered the USA. Believe me, when you apply for the citizenship, they will look into it, how many times you have gone outside the country and came back in. You have to fill that information out in the N400 form, and they'll verify that information at that time. They have a different, at the back end, they have the information. So you're good. Just because your passport is not stamped with saying that you entered into the United States on that date, you are good. That's not going to cause any problem unless you have jumped the wall and came back, which is illegal. I know you would never do that. And unless you have done that, you have no problem. You've come in a flight, you are good, no problem with it.
Kiradar has an I-140 approval with Company A and is now with Company B and wants to know if his spouse would be eligible for the H-4 EAD. So it depends on whether that I-140 has been withdrawn. Assuming it has not been withdrawn, then yes, your spouse can use that I-140 to get the H-4 EAD, even though you're no longer with that company. If the I-140 has been withdrawn, then we need to look at when was it withdrawn. If it was withdrawn more than 180 days after the I-140 got approved, then your spouse can still use it for the H-4 EAD. If it was withdrawn less than 180 days from the time the I-140 got approved, then no, you cannot use it for your spouse to get H-4 EADs, and you can't use it to keep getting H-1B extensions beyond the 6-year limit.
Question with regards to the bus's car from YouTube. If 485 application is pending, and if I renew the Indian passport, do I need to inform USCIS? Is it going to cause any problem? You are under no obligation to inform USCIS. It will cause no problem, none whatsoever at all for your 485 application. Shravan Gurujala from Facebook. My online I-94 expired on July 10th, 2022, but I have a valid passport and US visa until January 23rd, 2023. I reached out to my attorney for renewal, but was told that I have to exit the country ASAP and get an updated I-94. He is absolutely right. Your lawyer is right. You need to follow the directions of the lawyer. If not, you can pay me $400. I will tell the same thing, a little bit lengthy time, but in a sweeter way. But your lawyer is good, is advising very good. Now, this is a scenario. What happens is that when the passport visa is expiring in January 23rd of 2023, but if your passport is expiring, not the passport visa, but the passport is expiring on July 10th, 2022, this is what's going to happen though. They only give I-94, not all the time, but most of the time, they only give I-94 until your passport expires, not until your passport visa expires. And a lot of people, they come into United States, they don't even look into anything. Now, they're not even putting a stamp on your passport. People don't look into it. Okay, my visa is up till January 23, 2023. I can stay in. Then they come in and then you are staying unlawfully in this country right now. So sometimes it creates a big problem. This is an easy thing. Every time you come into United States, if you are a non-immigrant visa, you better check online with the CBP website what your I-94 is. If there are any problems that can be easily resolved right now, not at a later date.
Sachin says, do we know how much time it's currently taking for H-4 renewals and new H-4 EAD applications? It is all over the board. The good news is we are starting to see USCIS process the H-4 and sometimes the EAD together with the H-1B like they used to do prior to 2019 when they added the whole biometrics requirement. So they are getting better and approving more and more of the H-4s along with the H-1B when they're filed together. But they're not doing it across the board. So we still have many long pending H-4s that are taking 6 months or longer. It's like they're kind of working at it from both ends so that those that are longer pending are taking a long time still. but the newer ones that are being filed are getting approved quickly. Not exactly first in, first out, which we would like to see, but it is good for the people that filed later are getting a faster processing time.
Emily, I want to discuss with you with regards to the visa stamping. It got a little bit better. They have some appointments which are opened up in November and December, though. Well, what I want to report some of the things that we do have a daily conference call, guys. Every single day we conduct it. You can come and ask the questions live. Every single day we've been conducting from 2012 to right now. So you can please join it. It's free. It will be more interactive there. So in this Zoom call assembly that I conduct, though, people said that they got visas. They got a visa appointment. They went to Vietnam, and a lot of people got the visa stamping and came back. But nowadays, I'm getting a report that the U.S. consulate in Vietnam is issuing a lot of 221Gs. And the reason a lot of these internationals are going to Vietnam is, one, the appointment is available for visa. The second thing why is that there is no visa required for Indian nationals to go to Vietnam. What to do in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically turning into stamping in India where you're getting all the 221Gs anyway, so you're not really gaining anything, unfortunately.
Yeah, so especially it was really, when other people have said that they got appointments in Vietnam, we were a little bit skeptical, but we got a report that a lot of people got their visas approved, but now the whole, you know how these people are, how we are all, I was like that too. That once we know there is an opening, the whole thousands and thousands of people will go to Vietnam. And that's where they get, oops, let's start these people up. Let's start issuing 221Gs so that they don't come in. And that's what I see there in Vietnam right now. So be careful when you are planning don't be that assured that, okay, you go to Vietnam, you're going to get a green, red carpet there. Don't expect that.
Srinivas says, should dependents go to the Dropbox appointment with the current employer X or change employer details to Y? And can you use the same MRV fee? So you can update the DS-160. So you can log back into that CEAC website and then retrieve your existing application. And then should be a button to create a new application. It will pre-populate much of what you already entered in the DS-160, but you can edit what is there to provide the new employer information if you've transferred in the meantime. And then you can submit the DS-160 again. It will create a new barcode. And so you want to make sure you print out the new confirmation page that has the new barcode. That is where the consulate gets the information when they scan it when you show up for your Dropbox appointment. So yes, you can make that change relatively easily, and you don't have to repay a fee.
My new LCA, the wage is less than the actual salary. I need to file an LCA, an amendment. Dilip, if the salary is like within the 25%, 20%, I think so, that's about okay. But if it's like 50% or 70%, you may want to discuss with your lawyer. If it's coming as a bonus, that's not a problem. But if it's coming as a salary and then your salary is 50% more than LCA, that may cause USCIS to revoke your H-1B though. So be aware, if the salary is too high, it's not good. If it's 10-20%, that's fine.
Senthil says, is the processing time quicker to receive an EAD in the EB1C category, or is it the same as EB2 and EB3? It's basically the same, because what allows you to get that EAD is simply having a pending 485. It doesn't matter what category it's in, and they don't really look into that in order to issue the EAD. As long as the 485 is pending, based on when you filed that for 765, that will determine how long it takes to get it.
Questions with regards to how long, AC, this question from YouTube, how long it's taking for the GC EAD and AP renewal. The renewals for the GC EAD is coming a little bit faster, maybe 4 to 7 months typically though. Not all cases, but 4 to 7 months. But sometimes advance parole is not getting approved along with the EAD. It's taking a longer time. So please guys, when you're traveling, make sure you check your EAD. Does it have an advance parole or not? They're approving the EAD, but not the advance parole sometimes. So check it. Advance parole is taking a long time, almost like an year it's taking right now.
AC says, having the GC EAD, can I work another job and stay on H-1B with my current employer? No, it's one or the other. So if you use the EAD to work for another company, that means you're no longer in H-1B status and you're now using your EAD to work for the current company. So working for a company that you do not have an H-1B approval for means you're not maintaining H-1 status. You can use the EAD to work for both of those companies, but you will not be saying, I'm in H-1B with this company, but I'm using my EAD for another company. That is not, those don't go together.
So Emily, I have one question, cross-examine on this one though. So let's say I have an H-1B with Apple, okay? Now I have an EAD, and then EAD, I'm going to go to Tesla and start working with Tesla. Am I violating any legal status here?
No, it's not a violation because you have the valid EAD, so you're working with authorization. You're just no longer in H-1B status.
I don't understand why people love H-1B, guys. I really don't understand it. I personally myself, and this is a very big battle we face, people just want to maintain the H-1B. I don't know why. Now, since we know the priority date may take a long time for you guys to get the green card, you may want to consider using the EADs and letting your H-1B go. And this thing of priority date getting stuck for a long period of time has been historically there. And it may be much more than. In 2001, it got stuck in April of 2001. It took almost 6 years to clear that out. It got stuck in 2007. It took almost 5 years to clear it. Then it came in 2012, it came to 2010. Then it took 11 years or 10 years to clear from 2010 onwards. So now we moved all the way to January of 2015. And based on the data, what we are seeing, unless some miracle happens though, that may take almost a decade for the priority date for January of 2015 to become current. So dig in there, think that it's going to take a long time for you to get the green card, and be prepared for it and be planning, whether you want to plan financially, whether you want to plan kids' education, whether you want to plan travel to India, whether you want to look into investment options, you want to buy a house, you want to look into the job change activities, your spouse job, and all those things. Plan accordingly so that you may get a green card after a long period of time, especially if your priority date is 2014. It may take a long time, even though you're in adjustment of status. So you may want to consider giving up your H-1B.
Edward says the 485 was filed together as a family. The I-140 is approved. Wife and son got a notice that their cases were transferred to NBC to speed up the processing, but husband's case is still at the Nebraska Service Center. What could I do? We do see that quite commonly where family members get split up and some get transferred and some don't. And there's not really anything you can do. You can't force USCIS to transfer a case if they're not ready to transfer it. So just continue to monitor it, but beyond that, it's just a matter of waiting, and it's possible that they might stay split up. We saw that quite often with the cases that were getting approved in September 2022. They were going through them so quickly that they were approving the main applicant and forgot about the spouse, and so the spouse's GC is still pending, and now the date's retrogressed. So that's created definitely a mess, but there's not really anything you can do in order to fix it right now. But I think we are out of time for today. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll be back again next week at Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Please make a note that there is a conference call, Zoom call, every single day. Reddy Neumann PC has been conducting. It's free for you to attend. If you have any questions, you can come there. The link is provided in the video there. So you can come, it's half an hour every single day. The timing is there. It's a Zoom call. Anybody can attend it. It's a free. You can attend those free calls. Thank you very much. That's